call the meeting of the Seven Devils Board of Adjustment to order. The first order of business today, our last meeting in late January, Bob Bridges, who for many years had served on the Board of Adjustment, was here because he said he felt like he needed to be as a member of the town council, but I think also he cared a lot about this board, and he dedicated many years of service to this board and to the town. And so I thought it would be only appropriate that we take a minute to remember Bob. Even it's been a few months now since he passed, but to take a moment of silence to honor Bob and his many contributions to this board and to the town. Okay, thank you. We'll start today with a roll call. So we'll start down here.
Dave Brock. Bobby Herbrick.
Quinn Morris.
Stu Ryan. Mark Cumbernauld.
All right, so with 5 members, we do have a quorum. We're going to skip over for the time being the recusal. That we'll move that to after old business and approval of the minutes. And at this time, we need to administer the oath of office for a new member. So I will ask the town clerk to administer the oath to Michael Zavislak. Michael, if you want to come up to the podium here.
Take the slur of the consonant and repeat after me. I, Michael Zavislak,
I, Michael Zavislak,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and the Constitution and laws
and the Constitution and laws
of North Carolina,
of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of my
the
office
duties of my office
as a member of the Board of Adjustment
as a member of the Board of Adjustment
of the town of Seven
of
Devils.
the Town of Seven Devils.
So help me God.
So help me God.
This is 28th day of May. And sign it here.
Thank you, Hillary, and thank you, Michael, for being willing to serve as an alternate member. So with that, we'll proceed to adoption of the agenda. Again, I'll just point out that we will have a recusal of a board member between the old business and the beginning of the new business. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, so moved. Second? All right. All in favor? Aye. All right. So the agenda is adopted. We'll begin with old business. You should have in your agenda packet the minutes from the January 23rd meeting, in which we heard an appeal of the staff decision. The applicant was Middleton, I believe. If there's any discussion about that or any corrections that need to be made to the minutes, let us know, or if not, we'll take a motion to adopt the minutes of the January 23rd meeting.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the minutes.
A second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes, and the minutes are adopted. All right, at this point, before we open the variance hearing, the applicant, or one of the applicants, I should say, is Mark Cumbernauld. And so I believe at this time, he might wish to be recused. So he can do the applicant.
I wish to be recused.
All right, very good. All right. So you can now take a seat there. And sorry, I've got all my stuff out of sorts here. And so with that, we will seat an alternate member for the purposes of conducting this variance hearing. And so I will ask Dave Matney to come up and, sorry.
That's what we were at.
Okay. All right. And so with that, we will now begin the quasi judicial hearing for this variance request. For those of you who may not have been to one of these before, there'll be a lot of reading. We'll get through all the details, but it is important that we follow the procedure laid out in state law. So a quasi judicial proceeding, much like a court proceeding, is one in which one's individual rights are being determined. Only persons who can demonstrate that they will be affected by the outcome of the decision are allowed to participate as parties in the proceeding. Testimony will be limited to only those issues concerning whether the variance application should be granted under the zoning ordinance. All persons who speak and participate, including any witnesses that will be called, will be placed under oath. The board will conduct this hearing similar to a judicial proceeding. We will begin with a hearing on whether any parties have standing to intervene as a party to this variance application, hear evidence and arguments on this issue, and vote on this matter. Following a determination of the appropriate parties, we will then proceed with the hearing on the variance application. The applicant will present evidence in support of the request, followed by testimony of staff and evidence from any interveners. After each party presents evidence, they will be subject to cross-examination by other parties to the case. Also, the board may ask questions of each party or witnesses. After the parties to the case have presented their evidence, the board may also recognize the testimony of others present at the hearing who are not parties to this action, who will likewise be subject to cross-examination by the parties and questioning by the board. Finally, the parties will be given the opportunity to rebut any testimony and offer their closing arguments. After all the evidence is presented, the board will enter a deliberation phase where it will not receive any additional evidence from the parties or arguments from their counsel, receive instructions from our legal counsel as needed, consider the evidence in the context of the ordinance standards, make findings of fact, draw conclusions, and then make a decision. So, ladies and gentlemen, quasi-judicial proceeding is being held today on an application by Mark and Judy Cuppernell for a variance of Article 7, Section 2, Table 7.1 of the Town of Seven Devils Unified Development Ordinance governing minimum setback requirements. Are there any board members who feel that they cannot sit as an impartial decision maker in today's proceeding, or any party who objects to any board member hearing this matter? Are there any board members who have received any information concerning this application beyond the information which is a public record? If so, please indicate what information you have received so that it can become part of the record for today. Okay, hearing none. Are there any individuals who wish to intervene as a party to this action? To intervene as a party, such individual must show special damages related to the application beyond those concerns of the community as a whole. A time will be provided to receive testimony from those present who may wish to testify separate from intervening as a party. Does anyone present believe they have standing to intervene as a party and wish to be joined as a party to this proceeding? All right. Hearing none, the board acknowledges the applicants Mark and Judy Cuppernell and Eddie Barnes, zoning administrator, as staff for the Town of Seven Devils, as parties to this proceeding. All parties to the proceeding and town staff that will be presenting evidence in this matter should come forth now to be sworn in. Eddie.
So, is anybody else going to be providing testimony today on that?
No.
Okay. So this is just a general witness oath. You'll raise your right hand. I'm going to ask you, and you'll agree to the statement. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole sorry. Applicants. We can proceed.
At this point, we'll open the evidentiary hearing on the variance application pertaining to this case. The board will now proceed with the consideration of evidence and testimony. The board members have received an agenda packet which has been prepared by staff and consists of the application of the applicant, staff report, and supporting documents. Everyone has oh, you do not have a application. Yeah, you don't have to support documents. Oh, okay. There we go. All right, very good. Mr. Barnes, would you please provide an overview of this matter, followed by any evidence you have to offer regarding the application?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, board. On April 23rd, 2024, Mark and Judy Cupperall submitted an application for variance and supporting documents in accordance with the procedures set forth in the town GDO for North Carolina General Statutes and paid the fee of $300. On May 14, 2024, adjoining property owners and property owners with 100 feet of the subject property as identified on the Watonga County tax map were notified by first-class mail of the date, time, place, and reason for the hearing. A sign was posted on the subject property the same day. No comment has been received by the notified parties. The couple knows plan to construct a new home on Lot 13 of Maple Springs subdivision located on Chestnut Ridge Road. The couple Knowles are asking for a variance to reduce the front setback as set forth in Article 7, Table 7.1 from 30 feet to 20 feet due to the steep topography of the lot and the close proximity of the septic drain field. A site plan, septic permit, and GIS map are included in the board's packet. That's all I have right now.
All right. Do any board members have any questions for Mr. Barnes?
Yeah. You have a copy of this, right? Just,
Yes.
I just want just a couple quick questions, make sure I understand. On here, I'm guessing, is that the drain field, those lines, can you see that?
That's correct, yes, sir.
That is, okay, I just want to make sure it says drain field. Now, it says a measurement, I'm guessing from the property line to the drain field, that's 10 feet, is that correct?
Yes. By the map, that would be,
10 feet. Does the drain field, it says from 30 to 20 feet is the application. Is the drain field a part of that?
the drain field, well, the drain field is not part of the actual variance, no, sir.
Gotcha. That's what I just want to make
Yeah,
sure.
right.
So-
But it's a condition upon the variance that the applicants are providing as evidence to that proximity to the house.
Okay, so the septic area doesn't have, the septic area, according to guidelines, has to be in, not here, but 30 feet, right, from the property line, the setback.
The drain field itself doesn't have to be 30 feet
Yeah.
away. The structure, only the structure has to be.
Only the
30 feet.
structure.
Yes,
So it's
sir.
not, so I, where's that saying it says septic area? The septic area doesn't have to be just
That's correct, it's the foundation.
that, okay, that. So the drain field can be almost all the way up to the property line?
That's correct.
That's what I'll get to that. We'll need to make sure, I think that clarifies, because I was a little confused, so I'll make sure I understand all the definitions.
So to clarify that, it's the setback is that we're looking at a variance for is between the house, what'll be the front of the house and Chestnut, or between the back of the house and Alpine?
Between the front of the house and Chestnut Ridge.
Okay. And the reason for that setback is because the house needs to be further forward to provide room for the septic field in the back of the house. I just want to, it's a little tricky between the front and the back, and the septic's in the back,
That's
but
correct.
it's the front setback we're talking about.
It is a front setback. By moving the house closer to Chestnut Ridge, they'll get more distance from the septic drain field, because these things don't always go in exactly as planned, you know. And also the steep topography, will create such a high wall on the back of the house that they go back to the 30 feet that you couldn't potentially, we have a 35-foot, maximum height limit. So if they went back further and that wall becomes even taller, you could encroach on that 35 feet also. So it's kind of a twofold reason for requesting a variance, and both of those come in play on that.
So then so the septic tank itself has to be 30 feet also, correct?
The septic tank, no, the septic tank has to be, and then this is by the environmental health rules, not town rules. I think it has to be 10 feet from the home.
10 feet from the home, but also from the property line, it has to be 10 feet also, or 30 feet?
So the variance doesn't have anything, the only thing the variance has to do with the septic is just the way the house is going to be placed.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to get the whole picture here,
Sure.
because I'm thinking about neighbors.
Right.
I'm just trying to get the whole picture.
It looks like it's mostly the garage that would be encroaching.
Yeah, and there's a picture of the house plan, in your packet, that kind of shows, you know, the, different profiles of the house. I think it's in the back of your packet, so you can kind of see how that, but yeah, the garage protrudes the closest out to the road. But, you know, the topography, I don't know if anybody's been able to visit the site because there's a lot of construction going on up there with the water line. It's kind of difficult to get there. But the lot does drop off very steeply, as you can see on the contour map there, between Chestnut Ridge and Alpine Drive.
And this is compared to other lots, this is a pretty narrow lot, isn't
Pretty
it?
narrow lot.
That's part of the issue also.
I'm sure it's an issue with the drain field and the septic
Yeah,
because,
that's-
you can't spread it out quite as far.
That's what I was thinking too, okay.
And just to clarify, so that we have all this in the record, I think this is in an area that's zoned medium density residential.
That is correct.
So the setbacks are 30 feet in the front, 15 side and back, I think, right?
That's correct.
But mostly we're in medium density residential, so those are the applicable
That's
setbacks. Okay.
That is correct. And actually, with this having two streets on it, a double frontage lot,
Yeah.
both fronts would have to be 30 feet.
Right, the front,
The front and
the
rear.
back of the house would also be a front setback.
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct.
Right, gotcha. Other questions from any members of the board? At this time, the other parties, in this case, the applicants, would have a chance to ask any questions they may have of Mr. Barnes if they have any at this time. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Barnes. All right, at this time, the applicants, Mark and Judy Cuppernell, may present evidence in support of their application.
Thank you very much for taking the time tonight. Thank you. I think you presented the majority of what I'd like to talk about also. Judy and I appreciate you contemplating our request. We're full-time residents of Seven Devils. We live here year-round in a condo that we own at Huck's request. We will use this house, assuming we can get it to the finish line, as a full-time year-round residence. As Eddie said, our variance request is driven by guidance from both the builder, who we expect to use, and the septic engineer to move the house further away from the septic system. And it is confusing. I get confused, Judy understands it very well. It's a rectangle with two streets, Chestnut being at the top, and which would be the front of the house, and Alpine being at the bottom. The septic system would be at the bottom of the lot. What this variance would allow us to do is just move the house up between 8 and 10 feet further up the lot, creating an adequate easement or setback from the septic system to the back of the house. There is significant slope issues on the lot that you have to deal with, and the topography is tough, so squeezing the house into a pretty small envelope with all the setbacks is pretty challenging. If you look at the survey, you'll see, as Dave pointed out, that the garage portion of the house would be above the original 30-foot setback line. The width of that garage is 22 feet, and between 5 and 10 feet, because the lot is also angled, and that would be the left side of the house. The right side of the house, there's a 5 by 8 foot area that would exceed the original 30-foot setback from the Chestnut. So that would be looking at Chestnut. As thankfully, and none of the adjacent neighbors have any issues with requests. We don't think that, we think moving the house up the lot will actually benefit Ron Sepulveda on the right. And if there were a house built on a lot owned by Santoro on the left, that would actually help them with their sight lines towards grandfather and the valley. And the folks who own unimproved lots up above us on the other side of Chestnut going up the hill, their elevation would be so high if they built the house, it would be not impactful for them. In general, we think that it would be complementary to the neighborhood in terms of the house being built and best use of that piece of property as it exists. We appreciate your consideration and absolutely could respond to any questions that you have.
Do any board members have questions? So I'll ask one. You
Sure.
sort of mentioned that, this is coming at the recommendation of the builders and the folks putting in the septic. Could you talk a little bit about, let's say this, variance wasn't granted.
Right.
What would be are there any other options if the house can't be moved forward? Or what would those be, if you've discussed any
Sure.
with the builder?
I can think of 3. Not build the house, not have a garage, though we'd still have to deal with the other side of the house. If you look, because of the angle, it's tough to try to figure it out back and forth. And then the last, kind of go back to square one, try to find a different house plan to build. And I'm just not sure how we would think that through. We've got, 6 or 7 months
Sure.
invested in a project at this point. So,
Sure.
to me, those are any other options that you can think of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes a good point. I've seen this problem happen before, is when you do move houses forward and back. I've seen it with a former neighbor, did lose their, imagine if you had to move the opposite direction.
Sure.
So that's why the board needs to be careful,
Right.
considerate of others. Like I say, you're in a tough situation. Luckily, the good view is behind you, so you're actually kind of improving your neighbor's view.
I think so.
But someone could say, "Hey, I like the view out my front too." So that's one of the things we always got to be careful of, because I've seen it happen before, and it's tough. So
The lot is so constrained in terms of size